Okay, now let's work on sample exam 1, Chem 11, number 10. This one is a conceptual question about density. Question is, which picture is showing that the left block is more dense than the right block? Now, one of the things that people often confuse here is the concept of density versus mass. So what the scales are showing is mass. What picture 1 is showing is that the mass of the left block is greater than the mass of the right block. This second picture is showing mass of the left block is less than mass of the right block. And then the third one is mass of the left one is or greater than the mass of the right one. You don't want to just look at the picture and then think that, oh, it's the density that's they're showing. Density is not measured, right, but it's calculated. And the way you calculate density is by taking mass over volume. So in order to figure out density, then you need to look also at the volume and not just at the mass. The volume is really given by the sizes of these boxes right here. So for picture 1, my volume on the left is less than the volume on the right, because that's a smaller box compared to this one. This one, both of them looks the same, so volume on the left is equal to volume on the right. And then this one, the left one is bigger, so volume on the left is bigger than volume on the right. To calculate density, I'm going to need to take the mass over volume. The density on the left is going to be more dense, greater than density on the right, if the mass over volume on the left is greater than the mass over volume on the right. So the first one, the mass on the left is greater. So we take mass compared to volume, This is for picture 1. We can see here that the mass is bigger, the volume is less, So if the mass is bigger, that tells us that that's going to be bigger density, And then if the volume is also less on the left, then that's also going to give us a bigger density. So overall, picture 1 tells us that that's definitely going to be a bigger density on the left versus the right. Picture number 2, the mass over volume. In this case, the mass is less on the left, shown by the scale, but then the volume is the same. So picture B or picture 2 shows you that the right one is more dense than the left one. So this wouldn't be right. So we're going to cross that out. Let's take a look at picture C now. The mass on the left is greater than the mass on the right. If you look here, the volume actually is greater also than the volume on the right. So if the volume is greater, that works the opposite, So if the greater the volume on the left, the less dense that block will become. So in this case, we can't tell for sure, because then we need to look at the actual numbers of mass over volume, and we can't just tell from the picture. And since the question asks without ambiguity, the only one that works without ambiguity now is picture A, or the first picture.